RPM planning is a way to maximize the results of your life and maximize your sense of fulfillment and joy. It's both. In order to do that, we got to change what we focus on from the question of what do I have to do to what's my outcome? What do I want? What's most important to me? What's the result I'm committed to getting? That one change will change completely how you respond in your life, because it'll change you from focusing where everyone's demanding your attention or what you're afraid of or what might give you pleasure in the moment to what's most important to you. And those, by the way, are the three things that get our focus. If we don't discipline ourselves, what gets our focus? Something we're afraid of, something will give us pain. What's the second thing that gets our focus if we don't pay attention? Something will give us pleasure. It's like, you know what, I'm so stressed out. Oh, that chocolate's looking good. Oh, that, I'm going to go over to have my little coffee, my smocha mocha doka cream, this thing and that thing, and I'm going to escape for a few moments. Because the focus is how to feel good. How to not feel bad, how to feel good. What's the third thing gets your focus? Other people's demands. It's not necessarily there are more demands, it's just that we're accessible to more demands. And if you don't know what you want, and you don't know why it's a must for you to achieve it, and you don't have a plan, I can promise you something. You're going to fit in everybody else's plan. And you're going to wonder why you're stressed. And you're going to wonder why I'm not fulfilled. What is time? How do you know when it's a long time? Or how do you know when it's a short time? It's not because it's 10 minutes or 10 hours. How many have been in 10 hours and time flew because you loved what you're doing, didn't have any sense of time whatsoever? How many have had that experience? Say aye. How many have had 10 minutes feel like 10 years you want to kill somebody to get out of the situation? So what is time? Time is emotion. Got to remember that. Time is emotion. What you're really managing is emotion. Another word for that would be meaning or fulfillment. Focus is power, but you got to take it. Take it back. Take back that power. And you got to know when you do have that focus, how to chunk it, how to group it so you're not overwhelmed. Let me show you how to make it simpler. When mass information is coming at you, you get overwhelmed. Most of us are great deletion creatures. We delete most of life. Right now, there are millions of things around you could be focusing on, thinking about, giving meanings to, making decisions about what to do. Millions. And when you think about what it's going to take to do something, usually it takes a lot, and you're not going to want to do it. So I'll do it when? Later. As my Australian friends would say, later. Right? And of course, the problem with doing it tomorrow is when you get to tomorrow, tomorrow is today, and tomorrow never comes. So, and you keep promising yourself. By the way, what does this do to you emotionally when you keep breaking your own promises with yourself? Or you keep failing to do things that you know are important? Does it increase your level of certainty and confidence? No. What it does is it erodes it. And when you erode confidence in one area, believe it or not, it affects the other areas too. Do you believe me on that? Don't believe me. What about your own life experience? Maybe not one area, but it starts to be multiple areas. It sure does. Another reason why somebody doesn't exercise or do anything is because they don't just chunk it too big, they chunk it in too many details. So remember this. Remember this. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation. I'll say that again. Change is never a matter of ability. It's always a matter of motivation or drive, having strong enough reasons. If you got a strong enough reason, you could figure out the time, couldn't you? So the biggest part of life and time management is knowing what you want and having enough reasons to follow through. But there is one more piece. If you make enough reasons to follow through and you know what you want, but you make the task overwhelming, you'll be overwhelmed. What you focus on, you feel. What you feel, you are moved to somehow actuate. But if you only focus on what you don't want or what's stressful in your life, what you can't control, or what you screwed up on, or what you messed up on in the past, not going to get where you want to be. Chunking is power. You don't want to over chunk where you're trying to bite the whole darn thing together. You also don't want to under chunk where you make a million pieces of something. What is chunking? It's taking all that's coming at you and putting it into idealized size groups that your mind can handle. See, science has proven the human brain, consciously, we can only handle what they call 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information. It's the term that they describe in science, that human beings can only handle 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information at one time. which is a very complex and over-chunked way of saying most people can only handle 5 to 9 things at once. But even the guy that explained it made it very complex. Here's how I tell you. You want to know what chunking is? Chunking to me is how to turn a lot into a little. Most people take a little and turn it into a lot. Exercising, if you're not doing it, you're turning into a lot. If you do it regularly, you turn into something very important, and it's a few things you do. It really is just as many things. It's just what you focus on, right? And when you're doing something and you're following through, you're focusing on the outcome and why it's important to you. How is easy when those 2 first steps are done? The first value thing about chunking is if you take it out of your head and you put it on paper, whether it be electronic paper or physical, you will have done yourself a great favor. Because when you get in your head, you tend to repeat things over and over. You have a hard time organizing it. And the reason is you're using words in your head and images and sounds. Now, if you can take all these thoughts and words and you can put them into a picture's worth 1,000 what? You just chunked your life instantly better when you make something visual on paper, electronic, or physical. Now, I want to explain to you what I mean by chunking in a moment, but I want you to notice that what he's done is told me things all in kind of a random way. And the brain loves pattern recognition. When you recognize a pattern, you feel certain. Oh, someone starts to look like that, I know what that means. Someone starts to say that, I know what that means. When this and this occurs, the business usually does that. I feel successful. Randomness makes us a little crazy. A certain amount of randomness is great, creates variety. Too much randomness, no certainty, which is a human need. And it freaks you out. So he's so random. Now, this is how the brain works. Randomly, while he's doing the laundry, he's going to think of something. Or he's a business, he's going to think about, oh my God, I got to get the cleaning in time because I got to get to that business meeting. How many have had these wonderful experiences? Say aye. So as a minimum, we need a way to just capture and get it out of our head. He doesn't even have an effective system for that because the system he has right now is electronic and he doesn't know how to run it properly or it doesn't run effectively. Probably the former rather than the latter. But either way, it doesn't work. He doesn't have certainty. Without certainty, you are going to be stressed. Certainty comes first with the ability to know you can at least capture it. The first step I teach people in RPM is you need a capture system. Something to get it all out of your head and dump it in one place where you know it's really there so when it's time, you can at least look at it and figure it out. If you don't have one place where it all goes consistently, and that you have access to. If you do it on your computer at work or you do it on your laptop, but by the time you open it and load it and everything else, you don't have time to even put something in because you forgot what it was, then you got a problem, don't you? You need a capture system that's consistent, at least one core place that it's absolutely there. Second step is once we capture, let's say we captured all these things. This is what it really looks like to his brain the way he does it. His brain goes, I got to do this, and I got to do that, I got to do this, and this, I got to do that, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this, oh, this, oh, this, that, this, that, this, that, then this, then that, then this, and that, then this. Call this person, do this thing, follow this through, build this thing, do this business plan, get that money, make this thing happen, go there. How many feel stressed in your body? Say aye. Aye. So let me tell you what RPM does. You start to look at these things and you say, okay, there's all these things that are important. I've said they're important. I need to take this random stuff that makes me crazy and stressed and find some patterns. Before I figure out what to do, I get to figure out, does all this relate to something I want? He's lost what he wants in his list. And you go, you know what? This thing here, call my friends. Oh yeah, follow up with my friends from the seminar I went to. Oh yeah, coming over here and spending time with my sister. Oh yeah. Going and talking to my girlfriend once, okay, that all relates to one chunk, which is my relationships, let's say. Okay, over here, I need to raise money for this, raise money for that. I got to put my money and my budget together this, I got to do this, and I got to do this and this and this. Okay, all of those relate to money. I've just taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 things I had to focus on, and now there are 2 things to focus on. My relationships this week and making progress on the economic side. I'm oversimplifying, but to give you a sense. How many would feel better already?
Yes, sure.
Okay? And then I come over here and I go, okay, I got to work out. I got to figure out what I'm going to do to change my diet. I got to prepare for that marathon. I don't have to run the 14th mile, but I got to do this piece here, and I got to speak to my trainer, and I got to do this thing here too. Oh, that's all my body. I want to make major progress this way physically. I may not do all these things, but I'm going to make progress because progress equals happiness. Even if you haven't achieved it, if you know you're making measurable progress, you will not feel stressed, you will feel fulfilled. So when I'm in a conversation with somebody, and they're talking about one of my 14 companies, how do I chunk that? Every company I have this metaphor. I say everything, if I were to say to you right now, I want to take every single thing that's in your house and we're going to move you, but here's how we're going to move you. We're going to take everything we have in your house and we're going to just dump it all on the floor of the new house. Just everything you've ever had, we'll dump it right there in this giant living room. And then now you got to organize things. Would you feel stressed? That's what he does. He doesn't even dump it on the living room. He puts it in a place he can't even find the dump. Okay? Which is common. Some people put part of the dump here, part of the dump there. They never even know where the whole dump of all the stuff is that they're thinking about is. Now, let's assume we did that, but I did one thing. I said to you, get this whole thing organized. You might not even know where to start. It'd be overwhelming. But if I said to you, everything in this room that I've dumped in this room will fit into 12 drawers. 2 chests of drawers. 1 with 6 over here that's all personal items, 6 over here that's all professional items. And it's 6 I'm making randomly. You could have 5, you could have 4, you could have 10 if you're really busy. And one of those, for example, is anything relates to finances. One of those, anything relates to my body. One of those, anything relates to family. One of those is relates to anything that affects me emotionally. Right? Go through the whole list. And the professional side, it's anything that relates to marketing, anything to accounting, right? Anything that relates to planning, anything that relates to sales, anything that relates to... Could you, if you knew what these items were, pick up each one and go, okay, that goes there, that one goes there, that one goes there, in a short time, would the entire room be clean? Yes or no? Not only that, but when you needed to focus on something, could you find it? How fast? That's RPM. When you know what you want, that's one thing. When you know why you want it, it changes the emotional quality even more. And I want to tell you something. It's the chunking that is making you think it's so long. But you got to stop the story that you have no time. You have all the time there is. Chunk your life will change. If you want an extraordinary life, it doesn't just happen. You got to create it. The best way to create it is develop a system so it doesn't happen once in a while. When you're lucky, you can count on it like clockwork. Sure stuff's going to interrupt you, sure stuff's going to stress you, but you know how to get right back on target. And whether it's managing your time or managing your life, they really can't be separated. They go together. If you know what your life's really about, what you value, what's most important to you, not hard to get back on target. If you know what you want, why you want it, you'll come up with a map on how to get it done. If you surround yourself with other people that are committed to having an extraordinary life, it becomes even more easy. And yes, does it take a little more effort? Yes, in the beginning it does. It's called the rapid planning method because once you've done this a little bit, guess what? It's like putting a seminar together. I know there's only 5 things you really got to focus on, or 10 or 12. I start to think about those outcomes, I know why, and boom, everything flows. And all of a sudden, everybody thinks you're a genius when all you are is somewhat focused, organized, and clear. But you still have total flexibility to change your mind, do anything you want to do. You're not locked in place. It's not an anal process. It's art. It's the art of your life.
Next subject, personal development. Some of the things Mr. Shove taught me starting at age 25, some things came quickly, some things came easily. Setting goals, that was easy. We're going to talk about that later on. But this one I had to struggle with, personal development. It was hard for me to give up my old blame list. It was so comfortable blaming the government and blaming my negative relatives and the company policy, unions, wage scale, economy, interest rates, prices and circumstances and all that. That was difficult for me to give up. That was quite a transition for me to make, and blaming myself. But Mr. Shove started out with something very, very important. Let me give that to you. He said, it's not what happens that determines the major part of your future. It's not what happens. What happens, happens to us all. He said the key is what you do about it. It's not what happens, it's what you do about it. And he said if you will start that process of change, Do something different the next 90 days than you did the last 90 days, like picking up the books to read. Do something different, like the new health disciplines, relationship with your family, whatever it is, doesn't matter how small it is. If you'll start doing different things with the same circumstances, since we cannot change the circumstances, but we can change ourselves. We can change what we do. And then he gave me another secret to success when he said, what you have at the moment, Mr. Rohn, you've attracted by the person you've become. What you have at the moment, you've attracted by the person you've become. Few little simple principles here. Once you understand these, it starts to explain so much. Now, sometimes it's a little tough to take, blaming yourself instead of the marketplace, taking responsibility instead of putting it off on someone else. That transition sometimes is a challenging mission. And this one was a little tough for me. He said, Mr. Rohn, you've got pennies in your pocket, you've got nothing in the bank, the creditors are calling, you're behind on your promises. And he says, here's how that occurs. You've attracted, up until now, you've attracted the things to you because of the person you've become. Now I said, well, how can I change all that? He said, very simple. If you will change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change what's outside. All you've got to change is what's inside. To have more, you simply have to become more. And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Start working on yourself, making these personal changes. And he said, it'll all change for you. So let's talk a little bit about personal development. That extraordinary adventure I undertook starting at age 25. And I've never ceased that adventure. I'm still going for it. In the 90s, I want to get better and better. I want my craft to get better, my business operations to get better, the things I do to get better. Because once I put this simple formula, I'm telling you, it's easy to figure out where the problem is if you go to work on it. Now, let's talk about personal development. And in helping kids understand personal development, I always start with money. Now, money's not the only place to start. Money certainly isn't the only value, but we've all got to start somewhere, and money's something you can count, right? Kids are interested in money, okay? A lot of things are a little tougher to measure, but economics is pretty easy, right? Because you can count. Okay, somebody says, how are you doing? You say, I don't know. Let's count. Now, this is not the only count. I understand that. There's a lot of other things to count. But to see if there may be some errors in your judgment and lack of disciplines in your life, we might as well start with money, because it's so easy to count. So let's just start there and see whether or not maybe we have messed up. Okay. So here's how I explain it to kids. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. Key to understanding economics. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. Marketplace is also described as reality. Reality, the marketplace. Now, it takes time. It takes time to bring value to the marketplace, but we don't get paid for time. It's very important for kids to understand, as well as adults. We don't get paid for time. Mistakenly, the man says, well, I'm making about $20 for an hour. Not true. Not true. If that was true, you could just stay home, have them send your money. No, it's not true. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you put in the time. So we don't get paid for time, we get paid for value. Now, since that's true, here's one of the key questions of the afternoon. Is it possible to become twice as valuable and make twice as much money in the same time? Is it possible to become 3 times as valuable as you now are and make 3 times as much money in the same time? Is that possible? Of course. If you want to really emphasize something, that's a good phrase, Stuart. Of course. Of course. Okay. Now, all you have to do to earn more money in the same time is simply become more valuable. America's unique. It's a ladder to climb. Starts down here, what, about $4 an hour? Big argument last year in Congress about the starting place. Should be 5, should be 5, should be 5. Well, no, it doesn't need to be 5. Why not start with 4? It's a ladder. Right? This is not a bed. This is a ladder. This is a ladder to climb. Starts at $4. Now somebody says, well, should be 5, should be 5. Well, maybe. If you're going to stay at the bottom for the rest of your life, it probably should be 5. But that's kind of a pitiful way to live. Start and not grow. Start and not change. Start and not become more valuable. Hey, the whole scenario of life is to start, number 1, and what? Become more valuable, number 2. So America's a ladder to climb. Starts at $4 an hour, and the more valuable you become, you just keep moving up the ladder. Top income last year, what, 52 million? Guy that runs Disney? Would a company pay somebody for 1 year's work $52 million? And the answer is, of course. This is one of those of course places. Of course. If you help a company make $1 billion, would they pay you $52 million? The answer is, of course. It's chicken feed. I mean, it's not much money. Now, why that much money? Because he has become so valuable. Now, why would we pay somebody only $4 an hour? They're not very valuable to the marketplace. Now, we got to make that distinction, to the marketplace. Might be a valuable brother, a valuable member of the community, a valuable member of the church, valuable member in the sight of God, to the human family, of course, those kind of values. But to the marketplace, which is called what? Reality. Reality is, if you're not very valuable, you don't get much money. Those are called the facts. I mean, that's how that is. Well, then how do you get more money? Simple answer. Somebody says, well, I'll go on strike for more. Well, here's a major problem with that. Here's a major problem with that. You can't get rich by demand. Somebody says, well, I'm waiting for a raise. I'm telling you, it's easier to climb than to wait for a raise. Why not just become more valuable rather than wait? I'm telling you, that's the key to all good things. Becoming more valuable. Why would we pay somebody $400 an hour? They've become more valuable to the marketplace. See how this works? I'm telling you, this stuff is so easy. This is America. This is a ladder. How far is it from 4 to 5? I'm telling you, it's not far. $4 to $5 an hour? If you work for McDonald's, haul out the trash, they'll pay you $5 an hour. If you whistle while you haul out the trash, they'll pay you $5 an hour. I'm telling you. You'll get an extra $1 just for a good attitude. Yay, McDonald's. Wear the hat. It's incredible. $5. And then you just keep becoming more valuable, more valuable, more valuable. I got a telephone call 5 years ago. The company said, we're ready to expand internationally. We need some help. I was sort of semi-retired. Right? Looking for the next exotic beach. They said, no, Mr. Rohn, we got a project for you. Right? We're going to expand internationally. We could use your help. Next little while, we'll add some millions to your fortune, make it worth your while. I said, okay. I thought later, isn't that interesting that they called me? My second thought was, of course they'd call me. Who else would they call? I mean, you know, I can get the job done. Now, how come I got a telephone call worth millions? I had become valuable. Now, I'm a farm boy from Idaho. I was raised in obscurity. 1 year of college, and I thought I was thoroughly educated. Made all kinds of mistakes galore. At age 25, the creditors are calling me saying, hey, you told us the check was in the mail. I got pennies in my pocket. I got nothing in the bank. I'm behind on my promises. How come I get a telephone call 5 years ago and it's worth millions? I changed. I changed. I turned my life around. Is it possible to become worth millions? Speaking economically, now there's a lot of values to become, but let's just talk economics. Is it possible to become that valuable? And the answer is, of course, of course. Now let me give you the secret. Shoaff said, here's the secret, Mr. Rohn. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Once I got that, it turned my life around. Learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. He said, if you work hard on your job, you'll make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune. Wow. If you would have known me at age 25, you would have said, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. If you'd have known me, you'd have said that. I'm the guy, I don't mind coming a little bit early, staying a little bit late. I don't mind that. You'd have said, well, Jim Rohn's a hard worker. You say, well, how come he's got pennies in his pocket and nothing in the bank and behind on his promises? Well, I was a hard worker, but I was working hard on my job, not on myself. I'm telling you, if you'll learn that simple little principle and start the process today, latest tomorrow, I'll give you tonight to think it over. And start this whole process of personal development, work on yourself, make yourself more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, you can so dynamically change your income, and economics is the least of the values that you can start earning in terms of equity if you'll start working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Work hard on yourself and develop the skills. Work hard on yourself and develop the graces. All of the stuff necessary to become more valuable to the marketplace. I'm telling you, your whole life can explode into change. Promotions, no problem. Becoming more valuable to the company, I'm telling you, no problem. Money, no problem. Economics, no problem. Future, no problem. If you just go to work on the right thing. Not get things out there to change. Don't try to change the seed. Don't change the soil. Don't change the sunshine. Don't change the rain. Don't change the mix of seasons. Let the miracle of everything that's available work for you, and start working on the inside. Work on your philosophy. Work on your attitude. Work on your personality. Work on your language. Work on the gift of communication. Work on all of your abilities. And if you'll start making those personal changes, I'm telling you, everything will change for you.